Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to The Landing. Welcome to The Landing. In this special episode, we travel back to one of the most memorable storms in North Carolina history, Hurricane Hazel. Recorded on January 1st, 2014, this oral history interview was conducted by Pam Morris with Grace Littleton of Beaufort, North Carolina. Grace vividly recalls her family's experience during Hurricane Hazel in 1954. A storm that left an unforgettable mark on coastal communities. As floodwaters rose around their home, Grace remembers her family climbing aboard a small skiff that was floating in their yard, relying on the boat to carry them to safety. Through her first-hand account, we get a personal glimpse into the resilience, resourcefulness, and determination of those who lived through one of the most powerful hurricanes ever to strike our coast. We hope you enjoy this remarkable story from Grace Littleton.
My name is Pam Morris. I work here at the Corsound Waterfowl Museum, and I'm collecting today. Today is September the 25th. We're at the Corsound Waterfowl Museum, and we have some awesome photography here from Hurricane Hazel that has been brought in for the Harm's Way project we're working on right now. And if I can get you ladies to introduce yourselves and where you're from, that'd be cool.
All right, I'm Janice Lewis. I'm Grace Littleton's daughter, and I came down with my mama to bring the pictures because they belong to her.
And I am Grace Littleton, and I lived through this experience, and it was quite dramatic, and that's about it.
Well, Miss Grace, you told an awesome story that I know I can't ever remember because I can't remember anything. And it had to do with tidal surge during, I believe, Hazel. Or was it?
Well, the one that came in the car this was the same thing. It did the same way.
But you were talking about the chickens.
Okay, that was in this one.
Yes. So will you tell the story for me again?
I'll try to. Let's see. In the morning that Hazel hit, we watched television, and they said we were getting a hit from it. So we all gathered up, and we were going to my aunt's house, which was originally my grandmother, Reese Phillips' home, and spend a day or wait out the storm. So we went to go out the back door, and the tide had coming in the house almost in that amount of time. And we had just recently bought 50 chickens, laying hens, and after the hurricane, these chickens had gone under the house and were all drowned. And we lost, in the process of this, 2 calves, which we had turned out because of the storm. And they had drowned. And we had water in our home many times on our little house up on about a quarter of a mile on North River Road. And it was just, it's awful to be in a home and have water coming in with you in it. And while we were on the porch, we noticed that my aunt's house, my aunt's boat, had come untied about just a few feet from a creek down the road. She ran out, got the boat, tied the boat to the pecan tree. She says, well, if the water comes up high enough, we can always get in the boat and go back down the road or up the road or somewhere. So we all gathered, and we eventually took a picture of this incident. And thankfully, no lives that I know of was lost in Hazel. But it was a bad hurricane, and there were many more to come, such as Connie, Diane, Ione, and many more that I can't remember. And so that's about the end of my story.
Well, you were told another interesting story about, was it your sister or your daughter? It was your daughter that was born around...
Connie and Diane.
Yeah. Can you tell that story again? That was
that was in 55. Okay. And in 1955, we had Hurricane Diane. I think he hit on a Thursday in August. And behind that one came Diane, which, according to the news, we would be hit pretty hard. So we got in the vehicle and headed up. We were going down to my cousin's house about 5 miles away. Well, we only made it about a mile, and the water came in the seat of the station wagon. And it was nothing, it drowned the car out. It was nothing to do but get out and wade to the next residence, which was the Dewey Hardesty grocery store, across from East Carteret almost. And there, they were putting up merchandise off the floor. The water had came in, but thankfully they had an upstairs, which a lot of the neighbors, and including us, spent the day. And I asked Miss Beulah, I says, what would happen if I was to go in labor? I was pregnant with my third child. And she said, well, I'll deliver it. And so after the water had gone down, which it seems like it goes out almost as fast as it comes in, the tidal water. So we went home, had to do all this dragging stuff because the water had came in our house about 20-some inches. And we did that. Well, the next morning, I went in labor, went to the hospital, and it won something that day. My daughter, Connie, her daddy named her Connie Diane. And she's a very happy, beautiful young lady today. And she was born, and 1 month later, we had to leave home again for Ione to go down to the cousin's house to spend the night and the day. So I am familiar with having to leave home in this water. And God bless all the ones that has been included in the hurricanes and the trauma this year. That's about it.
So let me ask you this also, and I think you probably already said this, but where exactly in these photographs, and I think you did say, but where exactly was this located?
Okay. You know where the corner is there, across from East Carteret. It's going to 70. Well, you know where the Merriman Road is that comes up. Well, the first farm adjoining East Carteret's property is the Hugh Swan farm. And then I have a little 10-acre farm just adjoining this property.
On the same side of the road there.
Yeah. And that's where that was. And we've not got this one I have.
Yeah.
No.
It's just, but yeah, that's the information.
When I look at that little house down, which I had to have, which had fallen down, we finished tearing it down after my mother's death. And my father built this little house in the 30s, early 30s, from material that had came from a dance hall down at North River. And they got the nails and part of the lumber because this was the Depression years. And nobody had money, much. So he built this little house. And the newspaper, I have several that the newspaper has come out and took of this little house, commenting on the way it was built. And I also have a calendar that a gentleman from Wilmington came down or passed that little house, and he painted this little house. And they had a contest in Wilmington as to which house or which painting or which artist would make the front page. Well, Lord and behold, this little house is on the front page. And I was born in October, and that is the month that he put this little house on a picture again. So I have many memories of this little house.
Well, that is really fascinating, and I think and another story that we were talking about a little bit earlier was how people had to use things. They didn't just wait for FEMA to come along to help them out or whatever. And I would think that would hold true even if there was a storm or not.
Yeah.
You know, you had to kind of recycle. But I thought it was a cool story what you were telling about the floors and how they took everything out of their homes and cleaned it up and reused it. Can you talk a little bit again about that?
About the vinyl rugs
About
and stuff.
how you basically recovered from these storms.
Yeah. In these hurricanes, when you went home, and we had water into our house several times, and a lot of your stuff, the first one in Hazel, we did not have time to get anything up. And that was the first time, to my knowledge, that water had came into the house. And so we learned from that when we heard one was coming to take and raise the stuff up as high as you could. And when you came home, you had to drag all the linoleum and stuff because most of this water came from the river, North River, and the creeks. And there was a lot of mud that you had to clean up, wash out, and try to dry out to go to bed that night because you didn't have a place to go. So this was done, and everybody did it. I mean, it was a going thing. And there wasn't such a thing as FEMA coming by helping you. And to my knowledge, there was no shelters. You went to your neighbor's house that was higher than yours. And you just did what you had to do. You didn't throw anything away. You dried it, washed it, and you used it again. That was a way of life, and thankfully, things has progressed today to where they have shelters, they have Red Cross, and they have FEMA, and they have help for people that goes through this.
Can you imagine that much water? Now, this
Yeah.
is when the water was going down. And she
Can
was
you
so
tell about it? This is a really interesting picture of a woman sitting in a chair in her house with water
All right,
everywhere.
now that was my cousin. Can I mention her name?
Please do.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is photo number 3, just for the
In
record.
photo number 3 is my cousin Myrtle Johnson Bellamy. And her mother owns this property where we stayed at that time. And in the house that she's living in, sorrowfully, is a home that her father was killed in and murdered a few months earlier. And or a few years earlier. And they added on it and made their home. And so we looked across the road. She had her freezer on the front porch, and we looked across the road, which was just across the road from where we stayed, and the freezer was bobbing up and down on the front porch.
Oh, is that it? In this picture? Oh, that's funny.
It was
In
bobbing
photo
up
number
and
1,
down.
there's the freezer. But how did that happen, though? Because in this photo, this must have been before the porch was screened in, was it? Or
No,
is
the
it-
water came. The water's already in this house.
Mhm.
This is the water that's in this
And,
house, and it just floats up. Loaded it up.
Even though her food was in this freezer, we all made a joke of it. Just look at your freezer. Just look at your freezer.
But tell 'em about
Well, when
that.
she went home, her house was flooded full of water because the house was low, and she had worked to try to clean it out, get things cleaned out, and she was exhausted. And so in the picture where she's sitting in the chair in the water, she said, "I'm through." So that was it for her for the day. But
That's really interesting. Now, this was not the same house.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is the
That's
same
the
house.
front, and this is the back of the house.
Okay, I was just looking at the siding and I
Uh-huh.
couldn't,
That's that old,
like shingle,
Shingle,
asbestos
yes,
type
yes,
stuff.
that
yeah,
was the
that
back,
they
and
used
that's
back
the
then.
front.
Well, that is interesting.
And this house sit like this across the road.
Okay.
And see, you can see that picture right there is actually that house.
Oh, okay.
But,
So,
this house is across the road from this
on
house.
photo 6
this
and
was
photo
my
7.
grandmother's home.
So photo 7, that was your grandmother's home.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me, did we talk about the story about the picture in the skiff?
No. Tell her
I
about
think
it.
we did about her going out getting a boat, didn't we?
Yeah,
And
I
we
think
got
we
to-
may
Okay,
have.
because
Yeah.
this is the boat before she had got it. And she had,
Right, and
she
the
went out
boat's
there.
sitting out there in the yard.
And she went out there and tied it to the pecan tree so it wouldn't float away.
Well, obviously they needed it.
Yeah.
So tell me, were you in this boat?
Yeah.
I'm in that boat.
Oh, you're
She's
in that boat too.
Yes. This is her right there.
The lady that owned the boat is the one that's got the oar.
Mm-hmm.
Her and my mother oystered in North River for a living.
Oh my goodness! How interesting is that? For heaven's sake!
And,
These
And
two
was that with her?
sisters.
Was that the oar or oysters on?
It's her oar that she always
It's not
pulled
an oar
her.
like we call an oar today.
Uh-huh.
Actually, it was like a pole,
Uh-huh.
and they cut it down and use it as we call it a oar, but it's
Well, it was
actually
an
a
oar.
pole. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just an old pole.
Oars aren't any particular thing.
And
They just had to be long, and you had to be able to pole with them.
Pole. Yeah,
Oh, that is cool.
and
So-
this is me.
many people has made a remark that when my mother, now her sister, she was tough, but not like my mother. My mother farmed, she plowed a mule, we made a living. My daddy died in 1939, and that's what she knew to do. So she borrowed money, she bought her a mule, a cow, and all the chickens and pigs we already had. So she went farming. She says, at least we can make it. And that's what we did at an early age. I was taught to lift, to crawl, and do anything you had to make a living because I was all she had.
I see.
And so that was her way of life. And when I got 16, I went to the curb market for 3 years. And before I finally wound up in the sugar factory. So, but farming was a tough life, but it was also a good life.
I bet so. Well, she and her sisters were oystermen, basically.
They oystered, yeah, every day.
And hauled them. A lot of times they walked slap from. Now, mind you, where East Carter High School is, and then there's a farm, and then that was my grandmom's house right next door. And they would walk to North River and oyster.
Wow.
And if they couldn't find a way home, they lugged them back.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, that was a tough woman. And it weren't nobody could hunt as good as she could hunt. They'd come by, there's Sally, you going hunting today? Because they knew she was going to find one.
I think that is just
I
amazing.
said I wished I could write a book on her. And
Have you got any more photos of her?
Yeah.
With her oysters? Or,
I've got
or
one
like
over
that?
down. I've got
That
one
would be
over.
I'd love to see those.
I've got one over down North River tying her boat out.
Oh my
They had
gosh,
got
I'd
through.
love to see it. That is fabulous.
But she had the kindest heart. She would, because she was tough. She really had to be tough.
Yeah.
Everybody at that era had to be tough. But she was the kindest soul. It was nothing for her to sit down with my brother and myself and tell us like ghost stories or stories.
Oh my goodness.
All night under a chinkberry tree. She had a huge chinkberry tree in front of her house, and it was nothing for her to sit down and tell us stories and stuff like that.
Tell me, what was her name again?
Sally Poole Hall.
Sally Poole Hall. Oh my God. And what was her sister's name?
Kate Johnson.
Kate Johnson.
Yep.
Well, I would love to hear more about Sally Poole and Kate Johnson, let me tell you.
I tell you what, I have watched her plow that mule a many a day. I mean, back then people didn't have tractors. And like I said, my father died in 1939, so in the 40s, you were still, it wasn't what you'd call Depression years, but there wasn't anything. The war was on. And,
Right.
You know, people carried on, and she was tough.
It weren't like today, though, because, you know, Mama worked, and so we stayed with my grandmama in her house here.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd get us up in the morning time, and she'd fix us breakfast. She said, now, you youngins go outside. And we'd come back at dinner time, and she'd have us like a butter sandwich or something like that, you know. And we sit there, and she'd always fix orange Kool-Aid because that was my brother's favorite. And so,
Oh my gosh.
today I cannot drink.
So, picture number 4 was her house.
That was
Sally's
her
house.
That was her house.
That's the
yeah.
one that the man from Wilmington, an artist,
Mhm.
come down
Did
there.
it.
He took a picture of it, and it made front page.
How about that?
And he brought me one
That
day.
is just wonderful.
Here I am, right here,
Yeah.
and that's my brother.
And it's got it written down here
On the back.
on the back of this sheet.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And,
that is just the most interesting story. I'm so glad y'all came out here today.
Well, Mama seen it in the paper, and she said, you know, I want to take those down there. I says, well, I'll go get them
Well,
off.
I
And
tell you
we'll take 'em
what.
down
Yes, ma'am.
But
Because I love to read about anything like old and pictures and stuff. I love it. I love it.
But you know, the man that took the picture of the house, he said he had passed by there coming down east, Harker's Island, different places, because he had took pictures, shrimp boats and everything.
Right,
he had, in other words, he had several entered in that contest or whatever. And he said, I had passed that house, and he said, that is where I'm going to take that picture. That's going to be my front page. And he said, never knowing that they would pick me as,
Right.
you know, mine.
So if you ever go around that curve again, you're going to have to look past that farm, and you'll see our farm. And
I
you'll see
will.
all those houses was there, but they're all gone now. All the
Right,
houses
they're all
are
gone.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
I'm going to give you this.
he
so
brought
you
me
can
that
do it.
calendar down, and he said, I just had to get it to you. And I said, well, you know, I appreciate that. And he said, you know, I made a little bit of money off of that deal. I says, well, I am glad you did.
Yeah.
But I value that little calendar.
Oh yeah, definitely so. Yeah, for sure. I mean, but that's just
You know,
such a great
it's just
story.
so much. Like, for me, example, I'm getting up in age, and my years are limited. And if my children don't tell their children, and they're interested, you got to be interested
Right, exactly.
to care about a story.
Well, I think that's what happens a lot of times, like, as we
It's
were
gone,
talking
it's
about a little
lost.
earlier.
It's lost.
Yeah, if you don't, if you don't tell me who these people are in the
Yeah.
picture,
They'll never know.
nobody's going to know, and we'll lose all that. I mean, that really wonderful information about Sally and her sister,
Well,
the oyster women.
I was a teenager before we ever knew we were poor, because there was always, like I said, she oystered, she fished, she hunted, so we always, and she could fry you the best squirrel you have ever eaten in your life. If I've seen one, and I couldn't fry one like it to save my life, but it would melt in your mouth.
How about that?
It
That
would
is,
melt
that's
in your mouth.
incredible to be a woman of that time.
Yes.
and raising her family.
Yes.
Well, it was
herself.
only me. Well, I was an only child.
Right.
And, but that's what
But
she
still.
had done all of her life, which, because she was, I think Mama was about 29 when she got married.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, she met my daddy through a pen pal. And she couldn't have married any better. He was the best father that a child could ever have. And he was good to her. And so, but she said her mother had a fit when she got married.
Well, how come?
She didn't want Mama to get married because Mama was the one that stayed home.
Took care of the rest of them.
Ah.
Grandmama would, of course, now you couldn't do it. But it used to be, these birds that were, you were protected. She'd stand in the back doorway. Honey, she'd blast them. We'd have a pot of
She had
rice.
robins for supper.
Yes, we'd have a pot of rice and these birds.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you imagine picking the feathers out of them birds, trying to get enough to feed
You had to have a lot of robins.
But honey, she could.
Yeah. She wasn't the other one. I'll just put it that way to you.
So see,
But-
we were fed now. We were fed. She
That's
took
right.
care of us.
Oh.
It was a hard way for her, but she never complained. I never once in my whole life ever heard her complain about her
She
life.
knew how she knew
That was, that
what
was
hard
her.
work was about, and there weren't no need of complaining about it.
And she didn't, she wasn't one to talk about people. And she just tended to her business. And
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
uh,
Just left her family.
And I want to make sure. Tell me again about the linoleum and what they had to do. Did we get the linoleum story in there?
How you'd have to take the linoleum.
I had never
but
heard of that.
didn't we put that in?
I don't think you did.
No, I think we talked about it first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after the hurricane came and you got home, the tide went out. You had to take up all the linoleum, the floors that you had linoleum, because back in those days, very few people had carpet. And we'd take the linoleum out, take it outside, scrub it off, then scrub the house, and get the mud and the dirt and whatever out, and dry the floors out, open doors, open windows, and do whatever you had to do, because that's where you had to stay. I mean, it was your home. And you took care of it. You tried to. With what you had, you were thankful. And that's what people had to do. Of course, people lost a lot of stuff that you couldn't get back, and but you still had the washboard. You could wash your clothes and dry them on the clothesline, and keep wearing them. You had to. So that's the way people lived back then.
Well, thank you, Gracie, and thank you, Janice, for letting me record your stories, because that was really
You're
great.
not going to play this.
Thank you again for joining us to The Landing. This podcast is brought to you by the Core Sound Waterfowl Museum and Heritage Center. Tune in next week as we continue learning, sharing, and remembering together. If you'd like to hear more, check out our previous episodes where you get your podcasts. If you or someone you know is interested in being on The Landing, please reach out through the link in the description. Until then, stay safe and be kind.